Yo, welcome to Music is a Day Job. I'm your host, Sean, and Music is a Day Job is brought to you by the Concert app. The Concert app is an artist accelerator app that takes artists from opener to headliner to on tour, gives the fan the best experience in independent live music. And now today, this is I guess you can kind of say a special version of Music is a Day Job because I was asked for me to tell kind of my journey of how I made music into a day job because I guess people wonder what exactly I did. Now, of course, I didn't have concert when I when I did it. I came up with the formula from all my trials and errors, so it wasn't as easy as saying like this is the blueprint and how concert kind of is like this is the blueprint. If you had this many fans in this many places, this is what you're worth. I didn't understand that when I started. So you couldn't just pick shows. You had to find these venues manually. You had to have connects. The internet wasn't like what it was. So it was definitely harder. And it wasn't right there for me to kind of like build my own blueprint. I started in a day when CDs were still popping. So that kind of tells you how old I am. I started when CDs, like the end of CDs. And at that point, that's the first form of income I was able to make. I used to be able to make 1,000 CDs. And what we do is we'd make 1,000 CDs, something for $10 a pop. That made you $10,000. And that's what you did. You basically drove around and sold CDs. Now that was the first step. The second step was, of course, shows. We would do small shows at first, and we knew that, and in the small bars they needed the crowd to come to those places. So you go perform, you take the door, and sometimes you'd even get like a percentage of the bar because the bars like these small places didn't have a lot of traffic. So at that time in the world, it was easy to kind of be like, okay, in the small places, I can go perform, I can get the door, and I can um, get a percentage of the bar. The next thing we did was we had club shows, and this was just another way to add to those. Was we would do regular club nights with just us performing 2 to 5 songs. And so it was kind of like, yo, if we took over a club, ran club nights just like regular promoters run club nights, but then we perform 5 songs, then that means kind of change the difference. And it kind of changes up like a regular club night. And then people got to hear your music in the club. So then that gave like more push to your music. We would do this and we'd have like different types of shows where they were called like fire and ice shows. One time we even had like a party like a porn star show. And then we had this one where we did 3D walls and we had a painter come in and put 3D like paint up on these walls. So people wore these glasses, 3D glasses. They walked in the club and things were popping out at them and they just loved it. That was just being creative in ways to have multiple shows while you're still selling CDs and your regular shows. Then we found out mixtapes at the time was popping. So we would, because we started getting a name, we knew if we had a mixtape that had every other artist on there and they knew we were going to push it, everyone else would pay to be on the mixtape. So it was kind of like, okay, it's $50 to $100 to get on the mixtape. And then that's what paid for your slot. And then we had a deal with the people make printing, like printing the mixtapes. And so then when you have 20 slots on there, you're looking at $2,000. You're paying five. Oh, like at that point, we were paying like $500 for the actual mixtape and to be created and put in the jewel case and everything like that. And so you're making $1,500 right there. All of this is still going on. So we're still doing all of these at the same time. Then it became merch. And of course, we all know merch and how that works, printing the shirts, everything like that. That's great. Then this is where the big moves started coming. We started doing this show out in Colorado called 420. And 420 was the day that weed, like, kind of like the saying weed should be legal. And at that time, it wasn't legal out here. So we would put sponsors. And a lot of people that were in the business of paraphernalia for like smoking and everything like that would sponsor us because it was 60 to 80,000 people in the crowd. So all we had to do was prove that we were going to be on stage at the 420 time slot and say their names or pass out their product or anything like that, and we make a quick $10,000 to $20,000. So at that point, it was kind of like, okay, well, sponsors are something that's real. Like they'll sponsor you if you have enough people coming to see you. These businesses want their name out there. So that was the big change for us, because then that changed even how we did our mixtapes. We then didn't ask the artist for money. We then would go and ask a business to put commercials on our mixtapes. And then they would put the commercials. We even got a mayor to put commercials on mixtape, and he paid for the mixtapes. And so they would pay anywhere between like crazy amounts. Like I won't even get into it, but either way, they would pay for the commercials on the mixtapes because they knew 1,000 of them were going to give out to a demographic, because we are going to give the music away for free. We already kind of seen it coming, that like Spotify and all that stuff and streaming was coming. So we never thought the music costed anything by this point, because we could see CDs dying. So it was kind of like, yo, well, if we just give these CDs out for free and we put the sponsors on them, then we're going to make the money we were going to make from the consumer. But now we just give them out for free, and then advertisement counts as, oh, 1,000 people get to hear this. So then now all the sponsors want to be put on the CDs. So that was great for us. Next thing you know, because we put our name out there like that, we started doing features, of course. And we started like charging, of course, for features, 300, 500, whatever like that. And we would land tons of features because everyone knew we were the dudes who was like kind of popping. Then we started spot dating, because what happens is you start getting inbound bookings. So like outside of us being in like our main two spaces, which was Denver and Colorado, this is when we started getting outbound calls, because we started having like this buzz about us. So we were then going to Grand Junction and Greeley, Fort Collins, Boulder, Pueblo, and stuff like that. But we were spot dating it, because it wasn't like we could get a straight tour. It was like they would call, and then we would end up getting a connect, and then we try to throw our show, but we focus on those shows. So we focus on maybe like doing 2 shows this month in 2 different places, then going like, okay, well, we still got our club nights and still doing this. And that's how we kind of played it. Next thing became music videos. We knew we wanted to do music videos for ourselves. So what we did was we ended up getting our video camera sponsored, and we got a video camera, a DSLR. At that time, it was, I think, a 60D. And we took that and we would shoot all our videos. Inside that, we shot so many videos that people wanted to buy videos from us, because we started shooting so many videos that other artists were like, oh my God, we got to have videos too. So then I would shoot other artists' videos. And at that time, videos you could like, because it was so rare. Like when I first did my first video back a long time ago, before I even knew how to shoot videos, people were charging around $10,000 for a music video. And I got my first ones for free because I had some buzz around me. When I started, by the time I started shooting music videos, you could charge around $1,000 to $2,000 per video. So I was able to then supplement income for shooting music videos, which led us into a weird world, because the DSLR cameras had just started coming out, it got to the point where we were shooting other things than music videos, because we got offered it. And so it was kind of like, and there were some big gigs with those. So, and we knew how to sit there and shoot them. So we were kind of like, on our off time, we would shoot videos for situations. Um, that's when we started getting video sponsors too. We started noticing that if you put, for instance, if I knew this video was gonna hit 5,000, 10,000, 20,000, whatever like that, I could get like an alcohol beverage or something like that that would be in the video and be an independent alcohol beverage that's coming from like my city or something like that. Put them in there, and weed had became legal, so then I could put weed in there and shoot it at their shop or something like that. And there's tons of videos I have online that have these things in them, and I think they've been put in some of the other like sponsor videos that I talked about. But yeah, we started doing that. Then we went to the music industry, which was probably it's the best and the worst time, because we stopped doing all of this stuff almost for about a year and a half, due to what was supposedly to be thought of as, oh, well, you guys got to be more precise with what you do, and you got to do it this specific way, because this is how the labels will look at you and everything like that. So we went a certain route, And the one thing I will say I learned from that experience is that I didn't want to do that. Like, I learned because you sit there from the outside and you think, oh, well, I might as well just do it because then I can get famous and da da da. But I never really wanted that, but I never seen it. So then I just kind of was like, maybe this is what I should do. So during that time, I was able to learn a lot about the music industry, which I can say because I learned so much about the music industry and what the situations that I didn't like was, it made it easier for me to build what I built now. Um, but during that time, one thing I took from it was publishing money, and that's when we started landing deals with syncing our music on TV and everything like that. During that time, on the phase out of me being of us being wanting to be a part of the music industry, we knew we had to do some big swings because we had a little buzz, because people think you're popping because you're kind of in the music industry. You got a couple name people saying your name and stuff like that. So then what we did was, okay, well, let's leverage that towards people to believe that, and the work ethic we already have is the truth. So then now when you see the work ethic behind, with like people kind of like being like, yo, we like Top Flight or whatever like that, we then took advantage of that and we started pushing like crazy. Like, I'm talking about like getting on every show that we could get on. We knew we had to get on national shows and have our shows. So we started doing 1,000-person venues. Like, even though we had done 1,000-person venues in the past, we started doing them 4 times a year. So it was like, hey, we have to, in our hometown, we have to do the 1,000-person venue 4 times a year. And then it started getting us on every big show. So then we started moving like that. Then we got on Summer Jam and Fiddler's Green multiple times, which is a 15,000-person venue. So we knew that leverage would then change everything. This would open up the whole world of what we wanted to do, which was mini touring. And we leveraged that push to start creating mini touring, and that's what the formula then becomes that gets put into concert. Is we started doing the mini tours where we would kind of go like, yo, we're doing 10 cities in Colorado, then we're going outside, and then we're going to Utah, we're going to Arizona, we're going to go to, you know what I'm saying, like all these different spots, New Mexico, Nevada. We're going to do all these different spots and then come back home. And that's when we started noticing that we got sponsors on top of those. So then it started making it easy to be like, okay, well, we can get these sponsors to cover this much of this trip, everything in the venues or whatever, and then we also get paid. And we started understanding that. That's when it became, we started figuring out how big the sponsors can get. And like, I can't say this is like this is what can kind of blind you, is the comfortability of how big these sponsors can get, because we sold an idea to a bigger company of like building, like helping artists with brands and stuff like that. So we had to build a marketing company outside of our music company, because we were going to be the marketers in between us and the and actual us as musicians. So we're going to be the marketing company that ties us. And when we started making money as the marketing company, because the idea we had became so crazy, it started getting to like content with how much money people were making. And the thing that really took it overboard was that COVID hit. And then COVID hit, which knocked all the shows out, but we still had all these sponsors and we still had all this idea with the marketing company. So then it kind of got big for a second. And then we were like, well, we didn't want to do that forever. That's not what we came here to do. We came here to build something like what we ended up building, which is concert. But that's 15 years later, you know what I'm saying, from the beginning. So that's kind of the basic gist of um our full run as musicians, or of my full run, me and my business partners. Um that's how we made money until we figured out that last formula. But that formula came from every other step that we had took prior, because then we started understanding, from the spot dating to the club nights to everything like that, we start understanding how to make that buzz. Now all you gotta do is get on concert, and if you have 150 fans per city, you're making $1,000 a night. You know what I'm saying? Like, this is like, and then we're gonna go ahead and get all the venues. So then that's, you know what I'm saying, like, that's not the same thing. If I would have had that, this would have been way different for me, of course. But that was my journey. So I hope you enjoyed that. Once again, this music is a day job. My name is Sean. It's brought to you by Concert. Make sure you like, comment, and subscribe so everyone can see these. Also, Concert is in multiple states. If it's in your state, I'll just name the states: Michigan, Utah, Arizona, Nevada, Colorado. It's about to be in California and Texas. So if you're in those, start looking out because we'll probably be doing either Q2s or we already have shows running. So definitely start jumping on those shows. Tell all your friends to get on the app so they can start getting on shows too. And we can start making this pop so we can start doing more shows. If you have venues, let me know so we can start expanding to those venues in those areas. If I did not say your city or your state, make sure you start telling everybody to get on there because then that makes demand so we can get out there. Also, tell me the venues out there so we can get that popping too. So once again, this has been Music is a Day Job. I'm Sean, and this has been brought to you by the Concert app.